Welcome to Viral Recaps. Today I'm going to explain a sci-fi movie called Love and Monsters. Spoilers incoming. Let's get right into it. A gigantic asteroid named Agatha 616 was on its way towards the Earth. It was destroyed using rockets, but the chemical fallouts caused all cold-blooded animals, such as snails and frogs, to mutate into giant, fierce monsters. This catastrophe led to human extinction as 95% of the population was wiped out in just a year. The small percentage of survivors hid inside bunkers and caves all around the world, and they've been living there for the past 7 years. Joel, now 24, lives in one of the underground bunkers called colonies. Except for him, everyone else here has found his soulmate while fighting monsters and scavenging for supplies. Joel is assigned to work as a cook because he is known to freeze in dangerous situations. When a giant ant infiltrates his colony and kills one of the survivors, Joel wants to help his friends and goes out to hunt the creature. When he finally spots it, he freezes, and when he almost gets eaten, this brave woman takes things into her own hands and saves him. The scene then switches back to 7 years ago with Joel and Amy in a car on top of a beautiful hill in Fairfield, California, enjoying their time together. Right when they move to the back seats to do giggity giggity, the sirens start to blare and we're back to the present where Joel draws the creature in his diary. Then he goes to the transceiver to speak with her, but the signal gets lost. We're thrown into another retrospective scene again, where the young couple takes their final goodbye as they have to separate and evaluate with their families. Joel gives a promise to Amy that he'll find her no matter what. Back to the present again, while everyone is arguing about how the giant ant got inside the bunker and what they should do to prevent such thing from happening again, Joel asks how far is Amy's colony. No one takes him seriously at first and they tell him he doesn't stand a chance of surviving. But Joel has had enough of feeling scared and starts packing. He takes a few belongings and a radio. Everyone gathers and tries to stop him, but after seeing his determination to go, the experienced ones in the group give him some advice, a map, and a crossbow, and he sets off on a journey to reunite with his beloved one. After exiting the bunker, Joel takes his first deep breath of fresh air since the catastrophe. He struggles to read the map, so he decides to head in a random direction. While wandering around in the yard of a house, he encounters a gigantic frog who tries to eat him. He freezes once again, but a stray dog appears and saves him by biting the monster's tongue. Joel then follows the dog to a bus, which it seems to use as a hideout spot. He finds out his name is Boy and talks to him about Amy before falling asleep. In the morning when Joel leaves the bus, Boy takes a red dress that belonged to his previous owner and makes a decision to accompany him. While on their way, Joel wants to eat some berries, but Boy barks at him to let him know they're poisonous and he shouldn't eat them. As they continue their journey, Joel falls into a nest that's full of mutated worms and freezes out of fear. Just before the creatures attack, he gets lucky and two strangers, Clyde and Minnow, come to the rescue. They drop a rope into the hole and he manages to escape just in time. Then the little girl finishes them off with a hand grenade. We learn from Minnow that they refer to the creatures as sand gobblers. The duo then makes fun of Joel and they tell him he was yelling like a little girl. Joel then asks them if he can continue his quest with them and they agree. While walking they suddenly stop and Clyde tells Joel not to move. It turns out a boulder snail is right behind him. Clyde tells Joel to take off his shirt and stay still. He puts it on the snail's shell so that it spreads Joel's scent all over the hillside in order for them to be hard to track, and the creature continues on his way peacefully. Joel is shocked by the situation because he thought all the monsters are aggressive and all they want is to eat people. Minnow explains it's not like that and you can tell if it's a good or a bad one by looking into his eyes. Moving on to the next scene, they're taking a rest and having a meal while talking about Joel's diary, where he draws every creature he encounters and writes down its strengths and weaknesses. He shares that he's from Fairfield and Clyde is stunned because he never met anyone making it alive out of there. Then they break camping because they can either have a meal or take a nap. If they do both, then the creatures would smell the food and eat them while they're sleeping. The duo teaches Joel valuable lessons to improve his survival skills. Minnow even makes a great arbalist out of him. When they get close to the spot where their paths diverge, Clyde tries to convince Joel to go with them to the mountains, where it's safer because there are much fewer monsters due to the low temperatures. As he refuses, the girl gets upset because she became attached to him. Joel calms her down and gifts her a lipstick which she greatly appreciates. Clyde then gives him some final words of encouragement and a hand grenade to get him out of a sticky situation. Continuing their journey, they encounter a giant centipede that almost eats Boy. Joel freezes again, but a flashback occurs to when he was with his parents on the day of the apocalypse. He couldn't save them and watched them getting crushed. This makes him gather courage and shoots the monster, leaving it dead with a single shot. While sheltering in an abandoned motel, they meet a damaged robot named Mavis that offers to power Joel's radio. The charge was long enough to contact Amy. As they talk, Joel learns that new survivors have arrived at her colony and they promise to lead them away to safety. On the next day, a queen sand gobbler attacks Joel and Boy. They hide, but Boy barks, revealing their position. Joel uses the grenade to kill the queen but shouts at Boy for putting them in danger, prompting him to run away. Joel is covered in poisonous slugs after swimming across a river and begins to hallucinate as a result of their venom. He manages to eat some leaves that Clyde taught him to use as an antidote in such situation. He's then found and rescued by Amy. They share a brief moment together and then Joel passes out. When finally waking up, Joel is overwhelmed to finally see the love of his life. Sadly, it turns out he was heavily hallucinating and he kissed old Pete instead. Very, very, very awkward. Anyways, moving on to the next scene, Joel is introduced to the new survivors. They're led by Cap, a former Royal Australian Navy sailor who has acquired an old yacht. As everyone prepares to leave, Amy admits that she is glad to see Joel, but she has no romantic interest in him because she is still grieving the death of someone close to her. Joel is devastated upon hearing this and decides to return to his colony. He contacts them over the radio and learns that their bunker is now unsafe and that they, too, must leave soon. While talking with them, a man brings Joel a plate of berries and a beer and tells him they're sent from Cap. Joel quickly recognizes them as the poisonous ones Boy was trying to keep him away from. He quickly goes outside to warn Amy that Cap is not to be trusted, but she's too drunk to understand what he's talking about. Right at that moment, the girl from the Cap's crew knocks him out. In the following scene, Joel wakes up tied with Amy and the rest of the colony. The crew destroys their radio tower and briefly reveals their real intention. They want to rob the colony's resources and use them as food for the giant crab they've imprisoned to pull their yacht. Cap then releases the creature and proceeds to load his boat. Amy manages to free her hands and sets Joel free as well. She tries to stop them but ends up getting hurt. Meanwhile, Joel manages to flip over the crab, but before killing it, Cap uses the electric collar he chained the crab with to enrage him and it hits Joel, causing him to faint. Then Boy returns and saves Amy, who manages to steal hand cannon from one of the bad guys. She runs and hands it over to Joel to finish off the crab. Just before doing so, Joel looks the creature in its eyes and sees nothing but kindness. Instead of killing him, he shoots the chain to destroy the collar. The crab is thankful and leaves him unharmed. Then it heads towards the yacht and devours it along with everybody on board. Joel then advises Amy to head north with her colony as it's safer in the mountains. After giving her his diary, containing all the knowledge he has, they share a romantic moment and finally kiss. In the final scene, Joel broadcasts a message to the other colonies, sharing his experiences so that they, too, gather enough courage and be prepared to conquer the outside world. We then see Clyde and Minnow, who are already in the mountains, wondering if Joel will survive his next journey, giving us hints for a duology. Hey, if you enjoyed this recap, please consider subscribing and leaving a like as it helps the channel a lot. Thanks for watching and take care.